Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about, let's call it a birth chart rectification, because that's what it is. Well, the first thing I want to get with you on, we know when you rectify or rectification with a birth chart, generally you want to have it within an hour to maybe no more than 2 hours tops as far as your birth projected or possible birth time goes. This is for people that have a general conception or idea what time they were born and they're trying to construct their natal chart, but they don't have that precise time and they're just trying to figure out what it may be. Now, when you look up doing a rectification on a natal chart, some people will say, well, why don't we just we'll just try various, I guess you could say, progressions or transits. Let's just try this position, these house placements in the chart, and let's do some progressions and see if they might have fit for a particular point in time. But what I think would be more logical, if you're going to try to do a rectification chart, try to figure out what the rising sign might be and put that possible placement on the first house cusp. Now, let's say if you know somebody that, I don't know, throw this out there, you know that the time for your birth is between 1 and 3 a.m. And let's say between 2 and 3 a.m. the rising sign would be Gemini, and between 1 and like 1:59 a.m. the sign would be Taurus. Now, if you have it to where you feel pretty confident that the rising sign would be Gemini, then what you can do is put maybe do the 2:30 chart that would fall right between the 2 and 3 o'clock, and then look at the house positions, see if the signs, all planets and signs and houses, see if that would fit for you. Then you can look and see, you could try to do like some progressions of transits for different points in your life and see if it fit or not. And like, for example, if something happened where you purchased, you got a new home when you were 30 years old, and you looked at you looked to see where Jupiter was, and if that was right on the cusp of your fourth house based on the chart you calculated, maybe you have it very close. But I think the first thing, the fundamental thing, is to get it to where that rising sign position is first. Now, some deriving at that rising sign position will be easier for some as opposed to others, because what could happen is you could say the rising sign, a sign rises approximately for 2 hours, or 2 hours on average. There are signs of long ascension and there are signs of short ascension. Now, you could have, like, say we did that 1 to 3 a.m. thing again, and it's possible, like, say you might have 3 possible rising signs to try to get through. You might have, say, you might have Pisces, you might have something like Aquarius, Pisces, and Aries, all possibilities. Or maybe say, let's do, Aquarius, Pisces, and Aries, because Aquarius and Pisces are pretty short signs of short ascension. The Pisces, especially, Pisces only rises for about an hour and 10 minutes. So it's possible maybe to have 3 in a 2-hour period. And the thing about that is then you have 3 signs you got to try to look at. But if you can get it to that 2-hour period and look in that interval and find that rising sign, that is obviously essential, I think, if not paramount, in determining as far as the rest of your chart goes. Now, there are some people that like to, if they don't even have, like, what do you do if you don't even have it down to an hour or 2 and you don't have any conception or idea when you were born? Say you were an adopted person and you tried through persistent effort to try to get records from the hospital, and you weren't able to get anything out of that, well, obviously that makes it more painstaking and difficult. But what I would suggest is that depending on whether you're proficient or not at finding out that rising sign, or if you're not, if you might be able to get it down to your rising sign and go from there. But if not, I would obviously suggest to consult an astrologer that is, especially one that is very good at determining rising signs, at least by the appearance of the person, if nothing else. And then you can go from there, and obviously they could do the full rectification process from that point. But that's basically how I would go about something like that. And there's also instances that might be rare and seldom. There was something, and I don't know how many of you follow pro sports, but there's some controversy and debate on legendary NBA player, pro basketball player Wilt Chamberlain, as far as his rising sign goes. There's one source, I think it was Astrotheme, that had him at a late Taurus rising degree, but his rising sign and many other sources are Gemini, and that's because I believe that they weren't sure. The people that were looking at the birth information didn't know if that time had already been, the time that was listed, was that time already subtracted, or did they have to subtract it again for some kind of daylight savings time or whatever the heck was going on. I don't know if it was wartime or daylight savings time of some kind at the time and date of his birth. But I mean, like with him, I think what would happen was with the Astrotheme or whatever one I saw it at the 26 or 27 degrees, somewhere around there, Taurus rising, they decided to subtract it, thinking that it wasn't subtracted from that time. The hospital may have already subtracted it, which would give him the Gemini rising, which I'm kind of more in favor of, because I think based on at least his appearance, his personality, his quote-unquote voluble tongue, he was never at a loss for words, very loquacious and talkative. Whenever somebody interviewed him, he seemed to me to fit more of the Gemini mold as opposed to the Taurus. But that's another problem sometimes people can have. That's why I think in certain cases some people will look at their chart, and what they might do is they may subtract that hour, and what happens is it gives them maybe a rising sign that really wouldn't be accurate, because in some rare instances the hospital people there would already have subtracted that time, and somebody that might have something that reads Gemini rising can't understand what's going on, that they don't seem like they fit the Gemini characteristics, or physically or personality wise, and they might have actually had a Cancer rising as a result. But like I said, those are few and far between. But actually, that's what I wanted to get with Iwan as far as the birth, I guess you could say birth rectification, and that'll be it as far as this segment goes. And two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis on a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because a person astrologically is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.